DTN is a data and analytics company focused on providing operational intelligence to industries, especially where weather is a number one or number two concern that determines the outcome or success of that company. So we focus on bringing data, providing software as a service to customers where they can see dashboards, receive insights, and get forward-looking projections on where weather and climate risk may disrupt their business, and helping to mitigate those risks so that weather isn't the disruptor anymore and can be leveraged to actually make a business more successful. There are multiple challenges facing the utilities industry at this time. First and foremost, the whole industry is trying to figure out how to utilize digitalization and some of the new tools like artificial intelligence, machine learning to create insights that allow them to make sure customers are happy, that power is on at all times, and how to manage certain things like renewable energy and different sources of energy in order to maintain reliability in the grid going forward. Well, we know that the climate is changing, and as a result, there are a lot of challenges that come with that. We know there's more extreme weather that is creating challenges for the grid going forward. So number one, grid operators need to continue to build a resilient grid so that the power can stay on as long as possible. But in those instances where there is power outages, it is very important for utilities to have a forward look at the potential for outages, where they're going to be, so that they can plan resources accordingly to get the power restored as fast as possible to keep customers happy, keep the revenue flowing, and ensure overall resiliency within the grid. It is important for a utility to start with an action plan where they understand the potential threats that could occur and how they're going to respond before they even begin. Secondly, deploying analytic-based solutions such as our storm impact analytics allows a utility to begin to forward look at where we think outages are going to occur days in advance and stage crews in order to get ahead of those incidents and restore them as quickly as possible so that the public has power and they remain happy. The utility industry is really starting to understand that they have a treasure trove of data that they have internally. And when you start to combine that data with external data, such as weather and climate risk data, you can combine those data sources powerfully together to start to get an analytic solution predicting the outcomes of, say, impactful storms, heat waves, so you can focus on load demand just as much as power outages and restoration. Data insights make a huge difference on grid resiliency. Number one, when we see a storm impact on the horizon, the utility has the opportunity to harden the grid in areas where it is potentially the most vulnerable. It is also possible for utilities to stage crews in advance of a storm occurring so that the crews are already there, ready to restore power or fix infrastructure as needed. Utilities need to be more efficient now than ever before. We have so many electronic devices coming online. We have electric cars, which are taking a lot of power to charge. And as a result, it's really important for utilities to be efficient in how they work. So with weather insights, that allows us to really predict the demand on the grid, and therefore allows utilities to make sure their load is balanced appropriately so that they have enough energy to serve the customers in those peak demand times. Secondly, it's very important for utilities to be efficient with their personnel. If they know that they have a big incident coming up through our predictive analytics, it allows them to get the right amount of contractors and workers needed to get the power restoration stored, while not having to carry the burden of all of that staff for peak times all the time. We see with utilities the need for flexibility in data and the need and flexibility to work with where they are in their journey of using advanced analytics. And so as we work with utilities, it's very important for us to provide information in a way that is easily integratable and becomes part of their workflow on a daily basis. When you take a digital journey and you start to use analytics, it's important that that gets embedded in the culture of your operations, how you're working, and for all of the employees to embrace it. So it's very important to be flexible in how we serve and deliver data to meet the utility where they are so they can keep their customers happy. As we've heard here at this conference this week, a lot of utilities are just now entering their digital journey. And they're all starting at a different place, but it's important to get started. It's important to build a plan, get started on that plan, and start making the data more available and looking for interesting use cases. It's important to start with a plan and take it one step at a time. A lot of times we see in all sorts of industries, companies jump all the way into a very advanced analytic application, but we find that as you build into that, you start with a really concrete plan, you can integrate and continue to evolve and innovate as you go. It becomes a very successful proposition for the utilities and any customer going through a digital journey. There are hidden treasures inside of data that humans can't see naturally. And so what's really great about these advanced technologies and moving to a digital journey is the ability to combine data sets. Utilities have a treasure trove of information over the past several decades. And when you combine that information with other data sources outside of the utility, you can start to use machine learning and artificial intelligence to create some really interesting analytics and insights. These insights are the key to unlocking knowledge about where there may be inefficiencies in the utilities, getting out ahead of incidents, and ultimately getting one step ahead of a storm that may be disruptive so you can get restored quickly, be resilient to that storm, and keep the customers really happy.